Uganda Revenue Authority has stood aloof of a responsibility for the indebtedness of companies that are being bailed out by government.
If you take advantage of facilities that you were not meant to take advantage of, say withholding tax exemption, and you enjoy that facility and yet you were not given that facility by the right office, say Commissioner of Domestic Taxes here, then you are unduly taking advantage of a facility that you were not supposed to have, and you've lowered your tax burden, and you're definitely going to be deemed an evader. If you structure your transactions and you plan in such a way that most of your profits or most of your transactions appear not to be in the tax net in Uganda, but in a foreign jurisdiction, especially if you're multinational, and you structure yourself in that way, then you are going to be deemed a tax evader.
In financial year 2015-2016, URA collected a net revenue worth of 11.23 trillion, less than the projected 11.63 trillion intended for financing government development programs. This underperformance is largely blamed on the exchange rate depreciation, subdued investor confidence, reduced import volumes, among others.
Down in the economies in the EU and other emerging markets where we sell most of our products and services, it kind of comes back to catch up with us. So whatever is happening here is a reflection of both domestic and also global and regional economic shocks. But we are not in a recession. The economy is growing. Maybe it's growing at a slower pace than we would want, but it's very, very important that we are upbeat and positive. Otherwise, if we continue as if everything is doom and gloom, we may walk ourselves and talk ourselves into that situation.
Tax evasion equally contributed to the low revenue mobilization. Several companies register in names of other countries that do not pay certain taxes and constantly get away with it. Uganda Revenue Authority tax advisor Francis Kamulegea expounds on efforts to eradicate corporate tax evasion.
Because of the way the debate has changed as far as base erosion is concerned, and each and every individual country and state trying to close its borders and try and tax whatever economic activity takes place in that country, it's the reason that we are where we are. And most importantly, often it's not a deliberate structure aimed at evasion. It's not a deliberate structure aimed at avoidance, but certain commercial aspects are taken into consideration back then. But where we are now is that maybe those commercial aspects and reasons are no longer accepted.
A typical example is where goods, for example, are or entities are created and located in very low tax jurisdictions like Mauritius, and yet the business is being done in Uganda. But when you look at the underlying entity that owns the business, it is located in Mauritius, it's located in the Netherlands, it's located in the Cayman Islands, and such other jurisdictions where there is either no tax or very low tax. And because of that, we are unable to collect the particularly corporation tax. And this is where the significant erosion is being felt.
Despite all the shortfalls that have seen URA grapple with revenue collection, officials intend to issue certificates of origin, operationalize the Declaration Processing Center, and establish the electronic single window, some of which have already been implemented. Nevertheless, hope is that the taxpayers' money can be accountably used for developmental purposes. Nancy Okwong, WBS Business, Kampala.